Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today we are going to make some tags out of all the scraps that I had left over from the book cover and just some random coffee dyed pages and stuff. So here I'm just taking part of the book cover, and the back side of that, it looks fine from the video, but it's got like a glossy sheen to it. So it's not something that you would be able to write on. So what I'm going to do is cover the back of all of that with some of the coffee dyed paper, and then all the writing as well. So I'm just kind of making sure everything is evened up and looks like it was planned. So trying to remove some of those raw edges. I'm actually paying attention to the line border on the book there, and yeah, so this side was just a little bit wider, and just cutting off all the places where like there were it was folded, and it's not quite flat anymore. Um so yep, just covering things up. And after this, like I said, I'm gonna cover the words there. My intent was to put the paper down and then rip it away, so that it looked like it was ripped and the edges of the coffee dyed paper were uh, not straight. But then I guess I changed my mind, um, and did something different instead. So um, I guess that's what I intended to do, and it's not what happened, but that's okay. So, and then at the end, on all of these things, I'm uh, going to finish them up by stitching around all the edges and just, doing all the sewing on the sewing machine. I didn't like the way that looked. It wasn't quite as, it wasn't filling in the space like I wanted it to. So actually what happened here was it was a little bit too small, obviously, as you can see, which kind of prompted me to do a little bit more work, and ended up doing a little bit of a collage on the back of this one. So yeah, just using the spare bits of paper from the book pages, and use one of those stamps images. And actually, it turned out really cool. I was pleased with it. Decided whenever I used those stamps, I needed to incorporate some Christmas somehow, because they're not exactly Christmassy, but um, I just like the look of them. So I wanted to make sure and include them in the book. Got a couple of snowflakes there. And then now I'm just gonna tear apart or tear away that extra coffee dyed paper. So it was all glued down, so no no harm in pulling it apart like that. Oh yeah, and then on this side, I guess I got a little more creative on this one than the other one. But I had that piece of green left over from the bag, and I hadn't used a whole lot of that yet, so I decided to go ahead and embellish the other side a little bit too. I really like the way the coffee dye was at the top right of that sheet of paper on that side. dropped my glue. And obviously I didn't want to cover that up. So this actually worked out really well. I like how it all flowed together like that. And here I got a little too much glue on the backside. So that's one thing I love about Fabri-Tac is you can, if you get glue seepage, you can rub it away and you'd never know it was there. So okay, so this little piece was from the spine of the book, and it's actually not something I intended to include in this journal, but it it was just really cool. So um, I went ahead and decided to go ahead and decorate this one up a little bit too. So again, just pulled out some of the scrap papers and did kind of a little collage there at the bottom, and in the end, I'll go back and sew around all the edges of all these. So, oh, sorry, I was kind of out of frame there. Yep, just kind of ripping the sides. I kind of wanted to be able to see the book page uh, peeking out the edges on that, and um, it worked out well. So. Here again, I just had a scrap piece of paper and it happened to be the exact right size to cover the text on that little bit of book cover page. So just added that there, and I really like how that looks. Here I'm trying to incorporate that stamp, and it's just it's never nothing ever quite works out for it. So I in the end decided not to use the stamp on this one, and just covered the back side. That's that glossy white with some of this non-dyed paper. I don't really use the paper trimmer all that much. I have it. I have a nice one. Um, and I just don't really use it all that much. I prefer to do the use the ruler. Okay, so on this one, I ended up doing what I originally had wanted to do on those others, where I'm ripping away because I wanted to be able to see the cardboard. This is um, this is just a piece of cardboard that I think it came in one of I don't remember where it came from. But here I'm just using the packaging and wanting to do something with those, and I'm not going to spoil it, but what ended up happening was kind of cool, I think. So so again, I'm just covering the back side and all the writing with some coffee dyed paper, coffee dyed book page, and that way you can write on the back, or add a picture, or whatever you want to put on the back of that. The other side of that tag, you can see there, it's kind of got some faint gray stripes, which is actually really cute. And then I do like that wreath that's on the front, but then there's writing on it, and it's pretty hard to be able to fit anything in there. All the stickers would be too big, and yeah, so here I'm just kind of messing around, and I realized, oh, if I tore the edge of this, that would kind of end it kind of neat. And um, here I'm seeing if one of these stickers will fit over that wreath and cover the wreath, and it does. And I will add that at the end, but first I want to Oh, I just wanted to check a couple more. But first I want to sew around everything, and I'll add the sticker later. So here's the other washi tape packaging. Um, and what I wanted to do here was another collage on the back side of that to cover the text, and I had kind of a shorter piece, so I decided to go ahead and try using that. And I wanted to put some other thinner strips on the left and right to finish covering up the white. So yep, just trying a few different pieces here. Going back to my little stash, looking for some other things. I want to keep these pretty natural looking. I didn't want to add a whole lot of color. Actually, that's kind of my intent through the whole journal. I mean, yes, there is color, but I don't want to make it too crazy full of color, because um, whoever ends up with this journal, I would assume, is going to want to use it for like a December daily, and they would be adding a bunch of their own images and things. So I'm trying to keep things toned down just a bit, and that way the decorations are pretty, but they're not going to overpower the personal memories and things that the owner will add. So, as you see, I pulled off that piece of paper. I just didn't like how it was looking. It just kind of looked too much like a runway. And I decided to go ahead and stay simple with it and just let the coffee dyed paper cover the back, and um, went with that instead. So here I thought about doing the same thing I did on the other one, but then I changed my mind. I wanted it to be just slightly different. So um, went ahead and covered the front part with a different sheet, and ended up with two different pieces of coffee dyed paper there. And I will add a sticker on the top of this one too at the end. But again, want to sew around it all first. And I apologize, I did not film the sewing part of all of this. I, I wish I could have, because we're on a deadline for the 20th. I'm I'm really close to being done, but this took longer than I wanted it to take tonight, and I couldn't get it all in tonight. And I had some other things to do tonight too, so um I just couldn't get it all done tonight for you. But I'll definitely show you the stitching that I did during the final flip through. And for the subscribers to my channel, I'll do more process videos in the future with some sewing, and kind of show you how I do that. So you're not gonna miss out on that. Okay, so here's the special little thing that I was kind of telling you I did with this. So I decided that these would make really cool little notepad things. So I just went back through my little stash of paper and picked out kind of one of each type of paper. And now I'm just um, cutting them down and folding them so that they'll fit as like a notepad. In each of those. So I think doing this is a really fun way to just make things interesting in the journal. You could add photos in all of these little pages, or more places for writing, or just anything. And actually, I did cut more pages than I ended up using there, but that's okay, because then those extra pages will just become extra journaling spots that I can tuck into all the tuck spots in the journal. So this is pretty much the same way you would do your signatures in your um, journal, just on a smaller scale. And then here they were a little bit too long to fit in that packaging, so I was just evening up the ends. And then to finish it out, and I'm sorry I didn't show this, but to finish it out, when I was sewing those together, I sewed the back and flip over part first, and then I sewed the pieces of paper into it on the fold. So just using the sewing machine. And here I'm just deciding with those extra stamps and stuff that